Hello viewers, in the last two videos we studied about hemostasis. The role of hemostasis is to form a rapid and localized hemostatic plug at the site of vascular injury and also to maintain blood in a fluid clot-free state in normal or uninjured vessels. Now what is thrombosis? Thrombosis is inappropriate activation of the normal hemostatic processes such as formation of blood clot or thrombus in uninjured vasculature or thrombotic occlusion of a vessel after relatively minor injury. Now what are the three abnormalities or the primary influences which predispose to thrombus formation? These are endothelial injury, abnormal blood flow and hypercoagulability. Abnormal blood flow can be due to turbulence or due to stasis of blood. Now first, endothelial injury. First abnormality, endothelial injury. Now it is particularly important in thrombus formation in arteries and in heart chambers where there is high rates of blood flow and high shear stress. Now these two factors, they inhibit clot formation or they do not favor clot formation. So platelet adhesion and activation. Platelet adhesion and activation is a prerequisite for thrombus formation in these sites. Also, endothelial injury exposes the von Willebrand factor and tissue factor which lead to clot formation. Now, how endothelial injury can occur? Endothelial injury or endothelial activation or dysfunction. So apart from physical injury, what are the other factors which can lead to endothelial activation or dysfunction? So it can be due to infections, inflammatory mediators, abnormal blood flow. Abnormal blood flow also leads to endothelial injury or endothelial activation. The next is metabolic abnormalities. These include hypercholesterolemia, homocystinemia, and the toxins from the cigarette smoke. They are absorbed, they also activate or they also cause endothelial dysfunction. Now what do we mean by endothelial activation or dysfunction? We know that endothelium performs both prothrombotic and antithrombotic activities. So when the endothelium gets dysfunction, it means that there is shift in the pattern of gene expression. So the genes that favor the prothrombotic activities, they are expressed more or they are upregulated, and the genes that favor the anti-thrombotic or anticoagulant activities of the endothelium, they are downregulated. So how this happens or what are the alterations that occur? There is a decreased expression of thrombomodulin or there is down regulation of thrombomodulin. Now thrombomodulin is expressed on the endothelium surface and it combines with thrombin and it converts it into an anticoagulant which activates the protein C. Now in the when the thrombomodulin is down regulated, so it is not available for combining to thrombin. Now in its absence or in its low concentration, thrombin will have procoagulant. It will have predominantly procoagulant and pro-inflammatory effect. Pro-inflammatory effect thrombin will have. Also, there is decreased expression of protein C and tissue factor pathway inhibitors. So there is decreased expression of the anticoagulants. Other is there is increased expression of plasminogen activator inhibitors by the endothelium. What they do? They decrease fibrinolysis or they suppress fibrinolysis, and this will favor thrombus formation. And also there is decreased expression of plasminogen activators which cause fibrinolysis, so they are decreased and plasminogen activator inhibitors are increased. One more thing is that at these sites, the thrombus at the site of arteries and heart chambers, the thrombus is rich in platelets. That also indicates that endothelial injury, platelet adhesion and activation are required for thrombus formation at these sites. And the drugs, aspirin and other antiplatelet drugs, they are used in myocardial infarction and coronary artery disease. So this explains that. Now next is abnormal blood flow. So second influence is abnormal blood flow. It can be due to turbulence, it can be due to stasis. Turbulence contributes to thrombus formation in arteries and in heart chambers by causing endothelial injury or endothelial activation, whereas stasis contributes to thrombus formation in the veins. Thrombus in veins. Now normally the blood flow is laminar. Normal blood flow is laminar flow. So this is a vessel. So the platelets and other cells of the blood, they are in the center, and there is a clear area or a clear a layer of plasma between the endothelium and these cells. Now what happens when the flow becomes turbulent or there is stasis, or what are the factors that contribute to thrombus formation in abnormal blood flow? First is the platelets. Because of the turbulence, the platelets they come in contact with endothelium. Second is, due to turbulence, the endothelium gets activated or it becomes dysfunctional. There is increased expression of adhesion molecules and there is increased expression of prothrombotic genes. Third is, it prevents the turbulent or the stasis, prevents the washout or dilution of activated clotting factors. And also inflow of clotting factor inhibitors. Now let us take some examples in which the turbulent or stasis or abnormal blood flow leads to thrombus formation. First is ulcerated atherosclerotic plaque. What happens? So when the atherosclerotic plaque becomes ulcerated, it exposes the subendothelial von Willebrand factor and tissue factor, and this favors thrombus formation. And also, now this is endothelial injury, and also there is turbulence. The blood flow that flows past the ulcerated atherosclerotic plaque, it becomes turbulent, and this also favors thrombus formation. Second example is the aortic or arterial dilations or aneurysms. So this type of area is formed. This is aneurysm. So this area here, stasis of blood occurs, and this is a fertile site for thrombus formation. Third is, now in myocardial infarction, one complication is cardiac aneurysm, and also some myocardium becomes non-contractile. Now what will happen in these two conditions? There will be stasis, and this will promote formation of cardiac mural thrombi. What is mural? Mural is related to wall of the chamber of the heart. So thrombus will be formed there. Now rheumatic mitral valve stenosis. In this condition, because mitral valve is stenosed, so there will be dilation of the left atrium chamber gets dilated, and also if there is atrial fibrillation, then this will also favor, this will be a site of stasis of blood, and this will favor thrombus formation. Fifth is hyperviscosity, in which there is sluggishness of blood flow, or there is increased viscosity or increased resistance to blood flow. Seen in polycythemia vera, also in sickle cell anemia. So in these conditions there will be small vessel stasis, and this will favor thrombus formation. Third is hypercoagulability. Hypercoagulability is abnormally high tendency of blood to clot, and it is caused by alteration in the coagulation factors. So it can be primary, the cause can be primary or genetic, and secondary or acquired. And hypercoagulability mainly affects the veins, or it plays important role in venous thrombosis. So among primary, the point mutation in the factor V gene and the prothrombin gene, these are the important causes of hypercoagulability in the primary causes. And this Leiden, it is a city in Netherlands. It is named after a city in Netherlands. And this mutation affects 2 to 15% of Caucasians. And patient presents with recurrent deep vein thrombosis. And in these patients who present with recurrent deep vein thrombosis, the chances that factor V laden mutation is present are approaches up to 60%. The inheritance pattern is autosomal dominant, and the homozygotes, they have 50 times increased risk, relative risk of deep vein thrombosis, and the heterozygotes, they have 5 times increased risk for deep vein thrombosis. In patients who present with thrombosis and are less than 50 years of age, and even if the acquired risk factors are present, then we should suspect the primary or the genetic causes of hypercoagulability in these patients. The other rare causes are antithrombin 3 deficiency, protein C deficiency, protein S deficiency. Very rare are fibrinolysis defects, homozygous homocystinuria. The causes of homocystinemia, they can be inherited or they can be acquired. The inherited cause is due to deficiency of cystathione beta synthetase, and acquired occurs if there is deficiency of vitamin B6, B12, folic acid. Now, the homocysteine metabolites, they form linkages or they form thioester linkages with other proteins like fibrinogen, and this leads to the procoagulant effect. Now, among the secondary or the acquired causes, the pathogenesis, it is multifactorial. The pathogenesis is multifactorial. The strong risk factors, the conditions that are associated with strong risk of thrombosis, these are prolonged bed rest, immobilization, myocardial infarction, atrial fibrillation, tissue injury. Now, in these, the endothelial injury, release of tissue factor, they also play important role. Cancer, there is release of procoagulants from the procoagulant like substances from the tumor cells. Prosthetic cardiac valves, and these three conditions deserve special mention: disseminated intravascular coagulation, heparin induced thrombocytopenia, antiphospholipid antibody syndrome. Other risk factors are cardiomyopathy, nephrotic syndrome, hyperestrogenic states, oral contraceptive use, sickle cell anemia, smoking. Now, in hyperestrogenic states, there is increased synthesis of clotting factors in the liver, increased synthesis of clotting factors in the liver. And in nephrotic syndrome, there is increased loss of antithrombotic molecules in the urine or anticoagulant factors in the urine. So these are all multifactorial, they have multifactorial pathogenesis. So in this video we studied about Verkoe's triad, which include endothelial injury, abnormal blood flow and hypercoagulability. In the next video I will try to cover heparin induced thrombocytopenia and antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, because they deserve special mention, and this disseminated intravascular coagulation, it will be discussed when we start the hemorrhagic disorders. So I hope you like the video. For more such videos, please subscribe my channel and do not forget to like and share my videos. Thanks for watching.